Everything you need to know about the all-new Audi A5 Sportback in a normal trim, S-line, and the true sports version, the S5 Sportback. That is all today on Autogefühl, your #1 resource for in-depth car reviews and your #1 community to discuss cars with Thomas. We're going to take a detailed look on the exterior, the differences between the trim levels and the versions, the interior differences, and of course also the driving experience. And we'll also explain you the difference between the A5 Coupe and the A5 Sportback and what's in general new with this all-new generation in comparison to the predecessor. So a lot of information here for you and a lot of fun, I can promise you, in Autogefühl in full HD, full screen and full length. Let's go! Comparing it to the predecessor, the all-new Audi A5 has this very strong front grille now, single frame Audi grille, and those special accentuations on the hood, and also you see the headlights, all design lines flow towards the front. That's a little bit unusual at first, and I was really very much in love with the very first A5 that was introduced in 2007, and so I really have to get used to it, but I think it grows on you. This one here is the standard trim, and that means we also got a, let's say, seamless lower bumper in vehicle color. Not too strong if you compare it to the sports version, but in general in the mid-size segment here, I think overall in the normal version already a very sporty appearance. Headlights usually in bi-xenon and optionally then in LED or matrix LED for the high beam. And with those test vehicles here, we also usually see the highest lights version. 4,73 m or 15'5" the total length of this vehicle, and that's about 6 cm longer than the coupe variant. And this one here, the standard trim, we either have 18 or 19-inch rims. Those ones here are the optional 19-inch ones, and color is Daytona gray. We don't have too many sporty accentuations here. Just remember the lower bumper when we soon hop over to the other versions. Then the chrome frame. You see longer, 6 cm longer in wheelbase and also 6 cm longer in the total length. So that's a difference to the coupe. The chrome frame here is very interesting. In the coupe it goes like this, and here with a straight line. Here in the Sportback it raises till the very end here, and that forms a smaller brother to the Audi A7. So it really looks like a smaller A7, just that it's way cheaper, of course. And then also look at this very strong design line at the side over the door handles, and Audi has told me that's the maximum they can do in the production so far. So it's not possible to do it any sharper at the moment, and you see the play of light and shadow. Overall, a very beautiful side profile. What do you think? And the rear with those horizontally drawn taillights, and they always come with LED technology from the standard equipment. This one here is the 3-liter TDI, and that also means we have 2 exhaust pipes already here in chrome. We don't have any diffuser or a stronger lower bumper. That's a standard version, but I think we can really overall say that already a basis A5 looks really beautiful and very sporty. We'll also check out the other trims now. Now to the S-line, so you don't have to go for the biggest V6 petrol engine. You can already equip the other engines with this design line, and here the front grille has this matte silver in between the horizontal fins, and the lower bumper is way stronger. You can already see it, for example, here and also on the other side. It almost looks like an S5 from the front, so the front of the S-line and the true S5 is not so much different. Just at the very sides, near those turning lights, there you can see a small difference with this painted in black here, and you will see it's a little bit different in the S5. And the rear of the S-line, the difference is here we got this contrast at the lower part with the honeycomb structure. And this one here is also the TFSI with 252 horsepower, 2 liter. Features 2 big exhaust pipes on each side. So 2 overall, 1 on each side. A very strong appearance for the S5. But then again, the only difference to the S-line is really that at the very side of the lower part you got, you know, this vertical part painted in silver and not in black as we have just seen with the S-line. Other than that, this special color is called Coral Orange. What do you think about it? Prices, by the way, which are, for example, German reference prices, 38,000 for the coupe, and now also for the Sportback. The Sportback used to be a little bit cheaper, but now as it has more standard equipment, they remain at the same price level. And here the S5 is more towards 70,000 euros. And meanwhile also US dollars price are quite often very equal. The S5 in the side profile, we just have other rims, but you can pick them freely. Other than that, S-line and S5 from the side profile, pretty much the same with a stronger lower bumper in the contrast black color. And the chrome trim here especially matches the coral color because this is, you know, a very big contrast then. And that's the part where we have some music with the S5. 1, 2, 3, 4 exhaust pipes and a very strong diffuser here. And also a small extra wing lip on the top part. That's just reserved for the S5 here. We will show you the different trim levels on the interior. This is very interesting. Details soon with the S5 with the top version, but let's here start with an overview. For example, here at the inside of the doors we have matte wood. It feels very natural, very nice. It's in a dark scheme here. I would rather prefer it in a bright one, but that's just personal preference. And Alcantara at the inside of the doors, very soft. That's also great quality. If we take a look at the inside of the car here, you have different possibilities. First of all, this is the normal steering wheel, also with no special logo, no bottom, which is flattened out. Wood here, and then those ones are already upgraded seats with full animal skin. You can just go with standard cloth seats. It starts with cloth seat, and believe me, you'll be just fine with them, at least when they're available in your market. And also the seat form is already a sporty form with more side support. And you can see here contrasting color to the Daytona Grey, which has picked a brown-red mix from the seat. Then the S-line, very interesting. Here we got piano lacquer on the inside of the doors and also on the middle console. Followed by the S-line entry cap at the lower part. Then S-line steering wheel, also with the perforated sides. And very special are those seats called Alcantara Frequence on the inside. So it's an Alcantara surface with a special structure on it. Very nice. And those ones are my second favorite, just right after the cloth seats. Unfortunately, they still use real animal skin on the outside part, which is unnecessary, so leatherette would have just done fine by that. But those ones are also a good pick if you want to go for a very high trim level. And those ones are also the sport seats. You can see that they offer a lot of side support, and I think visually really a great choice. Let's already get here in the rear before we take all of the details in the S5, because this is very interesting with those normal sport seats that you also get from standard in the S5. A little bit more space here at the back part of the seats, and that also gives you more knee room. That's very important. If you soon see the S sport seats, the optional ones, then you see that you do lose some space right here. And I can already stress that those seats here with the Alcantara in the middle one is very comfortable, and this special Alcantara frequency with this whole structure you've seen, this is also good for summertime, because a closed Alcantara surface can also get relatively hot, not from the sun, but when you sit on it for a very long time. This one here, I have the feeling, gives you a little bit more breathing room, so very interesting idea. This is the car key, slim with the S logo, beautiful modern design. Door handles have the chrome contrast on the upper part, and they flip out to the upper part just a little bit. By the way, if you have some weird background noises, there's some construction works going on, nothing we can do about it at the moment. Then let's get inside here, coupe style, without a frame, freestanding glass. And you first look inside. The steering wheel with the S logo on the lower part, a small compact steering wheel. Here in the S version you have carbon fiber contrast, for example, at the inside of the doors here, all of the design panels, also here carbon fiber is used. And the seats, they have this diamond quilting structure that is beautifully visually, but not that good for the comfort. It's really hard with those lot of contrast stitches. And those ones here are also the optional S sport seats. It starts with normal sport seats, and also you get them in Alcantara on the inside, leather on the outside. And here the full animal skin seats I do not recommend. Not good in summer, not good in winter times, climate wise. And again, those diamond stitching looks good, but it's not really comfortable. So just stay with the standard seats. You'll be better with that one. And let's get inside. In general, you sit a little sportier and lower than in the A4. Here in the A5 and in the S5, suspension is a little bit lower with the sport suspension, and that means you also, sit even closer to the road, but that's of course good for the sporty appearance. As for the space that is offered, it's better than in the previous generation. Here as a tall driver, 1.86 m or 6'1", I come quite close to the A-pillar. But if you move your head inside, that's still okay, so headroom is still alright, definitely also for taller people. Here, electronic adjustment of the seats in all of the ways, although I can just lengthen the front area of the seat, for example, also the back part. So overall, still a comfortable setup. The steering wheel can be adjusted in all four ways, like this. So also tall people will be fine right here, but as I just said, on the long-term run, the normal sport seats will be more comfortable for you. Definitely also when I look here, see the head-up display, for example, and this whole cockpit is clean, definitely, but has a driver focus, especially now with the virtual cockpit we can see here, which is always optional. Soon more details also to the cockpit here, to the instruments, also to the infotainment screen. There it is, 12.3-inch virtual cockpit. Again, you do not have to pick it. The standard A5 also comes without it. But this one here with more possibilities. Big RPM meter here in the sports setup. You can always change the view for more information on the middle part. Usually I'll leave it like this. On the left part we would have the assistance system, for example, to set the distance to the car in front of us, like this. You can change the distance. big topic in general. The assistance systems serial is the front assist, or also the autonomous emergency brake. It's good that it comes with every car. Reduces the speed about 40 kilometers an hour. So when you're driving 40, it can really even out any dangerous situation in emergency. And if you're driving faster, it can at least reduce the impact. Then you can also have the GPS mounted on here, the zoom in and out, also with all the buttons on the steering wheel that is possible, or also some audio information or scrolling through the radio. Cockpit overview here again, clean and elegant, more horizontal lines, great build quality as we're used from Audi. Even the dashboard has soft material. Frameless mirror, that's also a beautiful feature, and the panel above there looks really like from an A8 meanwhile. Other than that, I mentioned it before, carbon fiber covers. You can also get them in aluminum, wood or piano lacquer. I would probably go with a matte aluminum. That's, I think, my favorite for a sporty car, and if I'm more in the luxury region, I would pick a matte wood. That's also very nice. The AC unit, also in this very modern style. We can take a detailed look at that very soon. Again, those famous Audi clicking sounds. I like it to play the AC DJ here, always with a climate unit. And in the lower part, there's this MMI unit where I can control the screen because it's no touchscreen. It starts, by the way, with 7-inch in the lowest trim without a GPS. Then there's one with 7-inch and a GPS. This one here is the top, 8.3-inch with the GPS included, and it's fixed. It cannot be retracted, and everything I control with the MMI. Soon more details to that. And last but not least, I got the automatic shifting lever in here. And just to remember, sometimes a little bit complicated. The smaller engines have the S-tronic dual clutch transmission. The bigger engines with a lot of torque, that means the 3-liter diesel with 286 horsepower, and also the V6 petrol in the S5. Those come with a Tiptronic, that's the converter gearbox. The key you can put in right here. And interesting here, we have also a structure. Feels very natural, nice. Then again, the shifting lever, you can also just lay your hand on it, rest on it. Then this MMI stick, and with the clicking sound for zooming in, out the map, also browsing the menu button and shortcuts to each. Those ones here are favorite 1 to 8 buttons. I haven't used them before, but you can set different favorite functions on them. Otherwise, what is great, you can also get this touchpad here. Then you can write like A or R, B, Z to type in an address. And then beverage holders in the front. It comes quite close to the AC unit here, so bottles shouldn't be too high, but at least they're adaptive, so they can fit different sizes of bottles. Below the drive select, we can also test while driving for dynamic mode and auto mode and so on. ESC turning off, usually you don't really need that. And turning off, for example, here also the start-stop function. Then above that, the famous AC unit, one of my favorite ones. And here again with nice effect that just rest your hand or finger on there, then you have a bigger screen, and then if you really click it, you can change everything. For example, turning up the vents, and seat heating would be right here in 3 levels. Then the infotainment screen. For example, go to settings, I can change the language, and you see the reaction times. Everything goes pretty fast. And now already the language is changed. The map from the GPS, you see there's also not really a lag, so everything really fast. I like that. So good software behind the system, and I think you also don't need the satellite view, you have a good overview by that. Then, for example, also car settings. Here is the drive select. We can show you later when we drive it, and we always got those illuminations, green for efficiency or red for dynamic. That's also nicely done. Sound system, we got the optional Bang & Olufsen system here. You can also set some settings right there. Telephone, either click here and connect it via Bluetooth. I would recommend that because that really works with the system, streaming music, streaming your phone. However, you can now also use the Audi smartphone interface, and I can just plug in my phone for that, and you can see what happens on the screen, because this works with Apple CarPlay and also with Android Auto. The problem with that is it's not really Audi's fault. It's for the sound, for example. I can now unlock my phone to start the CarPlay. There it is. There you get the view on that one. Then you can use the phone interface from the iPhone, for example, listen to your music and also use the GPS. But usually it makes sense to pick CarPlay if you don't have a thorough infotainment system. Then you can just use that one. If you have an Audi MMI like this one here, it's also perfectly fine just to use your normal Bluetooth phone. Don't go for the CarPlay and use the GPS from the car, because sometimes when you're in a CarPlay mode, then, for example, music is cancelled when you're going back to the GPS, or if you're using that GPS, want to hop to the other GPS. Both systems are not like 100% aligned, so I feel more comfortable with the old school Bluetooth connection. More storage spaces, by the way. Build quality wise, if you lift the armrest and then see, it's totally fixed, and in some cars with cheaper build quality you can move it around like this here, but here again totally fixed. Then you can put your smartphone here. This is also the place for the inductive charging if you have the option picked and your smartphone is suitable for that, and USB ports 2 and aux in. Then the glove box, standard size. And on the inside of the doors there's reasonable space, even some bigger bottles would fit in there. Then let's get in the rear. In the S5 version, also frameless windows there. And we have those S sport seats, and with them, I already said that we lose a little bit of knee space. So in the front, it's still okay. I mean, it's a sporty car, and I would advise the driver to put the seat a little bit higher. They can also put my feet a little bit better under the seat. Still reasonable space here for a mid-size car. Of course, not the best package-wise, but this also more focused on the sports behavior. But a big advantage if you compare it to the coupe version, where I could just hardly sit in the rear. Also, headroom-wise, it is still working also for tall people. Again, just remember 1.86 m or 6'1". So that's the big advantage also if you compare to the coupe, because the coupe had some knee room left, but headroom there was like nothing left. So this is the biggest difference. This one is also suitable for 5 adults. And then for comfort, you can also flip down those armrests here. There's some space here. Just that one here is a little bit unusual for Audi, that just folds down. And flippable beverage holders for the rear passengers. And you can also completely fold that one down for as a ski hatch, for example, and so you also have this 40-20-40 split here, and not only a standard 1/3, 2/3 split. If you have the option with a 3-zone AC, you can also control the temperature in the rear, also seat heating for the rear passengers, and always great, a metal knurling even on the rear cover of the 12-volt power supply. That's detail and build quality. And now to the biggest difference, coupe and sportback, is the hatch. Electric hatch, by the way, from standard equipment, and you have way more space than in the coupe, and this very handy opening. You can easily access it like an estate. This is a cover you can just remove. There you already have a lot of space, you can see it, and then you can also flip the seats. That's the only solution you have here. Again, I've shown you also the middle split, but then you have to have long arms, or you just have to go around and do it from the rear part. That's also possible. And there's a practical net also available to secure stuff, especially in an S5. And then there's the battery placed below that, and you can also get a replacement tire optionally. And then let's also test Child safety test here with the electric hatch. It's the same motor than in other Audi or Volkswagen vehicles, but here it's quite okay. We had it a lot of times that it was not sensitive enough and you could easily, for example, you know, hurt children with that. But here, maybe because it's a very relatively long hatch, although they use the same motors, it's somehow more sensitive, and that's of course good. Why is this platform called MLB? Because the engines are mounted in a longitudinal way and not transverse as in the MQB. And which engines do we have? First of all, a 2-liter TDI with 190 horsepower, or here the V6 TDI, 3-liter of displacement with 218 horsepower, then still with the S-tronic, or with 286 horsepower as we have it here right now, then with the converter automatic gearbox, the Tiptronic, because there's so much torque in there. Then if we hop over to the petrol engines, we start with a 2-liter TFSI turbo petrol engine, either with 190 or this one here with 252 horsepower, really massive horsepower output from this small displacement, and it's a little bit different from the engine setup. But what I really like is we always got this 3D Audi logo on the engine cover. There it is. So you can also show off your engine. And then if we go over to our final horsepower part, the V6 turbo petrol engine with a nice engine design cover here as well. The S5 354 horsepower. And that one obviously got so hot that it even gets another surplus insulation right there. First starting here with a 2-liter TFSI with 252 horsepower. So already a very strong engine, even though it's not the S version, but just the S-line. But you feel and see, oh, really got a lot of performance already. Wow, a lot of pressure as soon as I hit the throttle, and then going through different driving modes. I'll tell you if there's a difference between the coupe and the Sportback in riding. And of course, we'll also talk about the differences between normal and the S version. Very agile. I think I do feel a little bit that we have a little bit more wheelbase. Here we can also show you a first acceleration. For example, 60 to 100. Let's go now. Let's stop. That's it. 105 already, and you've seen there was no noticeably turbo lag. Sometimes you experience that with smaller turbo engines, but here, even in the normal automatic mode, none whatsoever. Suspension-wise, I can already tell you so far, we got a lot of comfort, but sportiness at the same time. It's really astonishing how you can get this compromise. Also, when you're going over some bumps, you hardly feel anything at all. You have different suspensions to pick from, a normal one, also an adaptive one. We got the adaptive one in here, and so even more adept, as it says, to all of the situations. Steering wheel is totally precise and direct, even at higher speeds, and still very soft at lower speeds, that you don't need too much effort to turn the steering wheel. The head-up display, I can also, for example, see the allowed speed at the moment, the current speed I'm going. It's also very handy to have that one. And if I go into a different driving mode, for example into comfort, and the suspension is also set on comfort, and steering and throttle input. Efficiency would then be that I can let the car roll, coasting or sailing, it is called. The RPMs really drop down, the car is rolling and rolling and rolling. It does not really reduce the speed at the moment, 64, 63, 62, 61, just slowly below 1000 RPM. If I, for example, go to the dynamic mode, would be the different stuff, and RPM you see get higher because the car is shifting down, so earlier shifting down and later shifting up. And in dynamic mode I have also a more direct throttle input, and you will also probably hear it with the sound, not as much as with the S version. Always a roundabout is fun to drive. A lot of agility with this car. Not bad from the sound for a 2-liter turbo, or what do you think? So I think, especially in those corners, you've seen the precision. Look at that. All the steering wheel commands are directly transported. So that's really a great feeling. I think if someone would tell me now, you're riding an A5 Coupe, is there really a difference? I think it's just really just nuances. Maybe I feel that it's a little longer wheelbase because I know it. And wheelbase, what does it make? The car is not that agile, but then you have better going straight characteristics, feels a little bit more sovereign. Maybe that applies for a little bit, but it would not be a total game changer. So I think I would still go for the Sportback because you have just more flexibility, and I mean, it's still already very beautiful overall. To stress the sporty mode, I can also put, in any situations, also when I just, for example, in the auto mode, I can go to the S with a shifting lever. That's also possible. Then it doesn't affect the suspension, but just the throttle input, for example. And when I'm accelerating now here in the S mode, let's go, for example, 50 to 100. Let's see how that behaves. And that's it already. Wow, really impressive, and how smooth the car remains, really. Look at that here again. I'm going to do some slalom tests. Totally precise to steer. And what a performance without any turbo lag, really, from the 2-liter engine. That's really nice. Then again, if I just go to the normal D mode, back again, you can just cruise with the car. The perfect sound insulation also accounts for this very comfortable feeling inside here. So although we don't have some double glass, because that's not possible with having without the frame, so it's not this special acoustic pack in here, still such a good sound insulation. Hardly hear anything from the outside. And so perfectly also for a countryside ride, but also for high speeds as an autobahn, it's also possible. This is a lot of fun, and probably one of the most fun cars in the mid-size segment. So driving dynamics wise, and also from the interior build quality, there's hardly any other car that can match that at the moment here in the mid-size segment. Relatively high speed in those countryside corners here. Such a stable feeling. We also have an all-wheel drive mounted in here. That means when I'm, for example, going on a wet road, I don't have wheel spin in the front tires, and the all-wheel drive is always distributed to the wheel which is really needing it. So it's pretty flexible from this philosophy from that one. So now corner city situation again. The overview, by the way, so it's relatively good. Maybe to the rear side part, the C pillar is a little bit blocking the view to the rear due to this frameless mirror. That's well done again. And this is a sporty cockpit when you look to the front. but still the overview is fine. Wow, what a calm feeling now again when we're driving inside the city here. So this car can actually do both. And you know that we have also recently ridden the S5 Coupe, and when you want to say, oh, I want a really sporty mid-size car, but you cannot really afford or don't want to afford the S5, with this setup here, you'll also be just fine, because I mean, we'll soon do another round with the S5 Sportback, but this one here is already so much fun due to this direct steering wheel, so can't moan about that. Wow, it's just always astonishing how silent is in here, especially if you compare it with other brands, for example. What is interesting here also, the dual clutch transmission. You feel that it is faster than, so this is the S-tronic, you feel it's faster than the Tiptronic, the converter gearbox, but converter gearboxes, they are said to be a little bit more durable than the dual clutch transmission, though it's a little bit question also of philosophy, for example. Sorry. The interior part is also the assistance system part. For example, in the head-up display I get information when I should apply the brakes, because the GPS system knows. Also, when I don't have any destination set, knows, oh, there's next city coming and you have to reduce the speed, and then it gives this advice, okay, lower the speed already right now to save some fuel on the long term one. Really interesting system. And I've told you earlier that we need the AEB already from serial equipment. That's the case here. And then option, you can pick almost any assistance system like the AC, adaptive cruise control, which works flawlessly, but also lane keeping assist and cross traffic alert. At that one situation now, was turning the car going backwards, and then there was another car passing by, and the car immediately hit the brakes. So to, if someone is not really paying attention, or maybe the car is overseen, so that's all in it. It's also the blind spot monitor. If a car overtakes me, there will be a flashing light in the side mirrors. So, well, not all is optional, not all from standard equipment, but you can get everything optional for a very, very secure ride. And this GPS system, together with the other driving assistance system, it's also called Predictive Assistant, and that one is available in the A4, Q7, and so on. And that one is a really amazing system, because you can set the certain speed, for example, and then also the car is reducing speed inside the corners. That is really amazing. So we're going right here again now. So for example, I'll set the cruise control now to 100. Like this, I can already see that in the head-up display. And then just let the car do the job until it's always comfortable ride, just to set the cruise control and let the car do the stuff. And with the new MLB platform and the system they got integrated here, you have a half autonomous drive, because you just need to steer, and everything else basically the car does. And it's especially interesting always in roundabouts, for example. That's for sure. And with the all-wheel drive, you're also secure, at least when accelerating, that you don't have too much wheel spin. And I can just tell you again, this engine here has way enough power for that car, so you really don't need more. let's now bring this V6 beast to life. And see what's the differences. We've recently had that one in the S5 Coupe. That will be very similar, and I can just also recommend you to watch that review with Holger, and he also compared it to the previous generation of the A5 in the form of an A5 convertible. Also very interesting test. We'll link that in the video description. The first thing you notice with the S5, yes, it's the sound, of course. With the V6, that's something different. Mainly you would go for the S5 just so that you really know, okay, I do have the V6, because as we've just shown you, the other 2-liter TFSI is already really powerful. And what you also feel, the car is a little bit stiffer, suspension sits lower, a little bit more direct, but already the other version in the S-line had so much sportiness, so you don't miss too much here actually. Acceleration wise, it still does make a difference, and a sound difference. I can always show you that. For example, I'm starting from 50 kilometers now and just see how the RPMs turn up and listen to the sound. So that was 50 to 107 now. Really powerful and a very sovereign acceleration due to this all-wheel drive here as well. So you don't get this typical push from the rear if you adjust the rear wheel drive. When I'm going over some bumps, I feel that the suspension offers even more contact to the road surface, and that really depends on if you want to have this, or if you say, for me it's better when it's more comfortable. Here turning, wow, great comfort and sportiness again at the same time. And how much is it really of a difference from the sportiness? From suspension wise and steering and so on, they both come really close already. Not because this one is not sporty, because the other one is already that sporty. It's just really acceleration wise and sound wise that still does make a difference. Let's also go into the dynamic mode, because this here also makes more difference than, for example, 70 to 100. That's what already 112 now. And especially when you use the shifting pedals, shift down a gear, you get even more direct throttle input. You can already hear the engine when you're driving yourself and not only from the outside. However, you do feel that the converter gearbox is maybe something a little bit slower than the S-tronic, than the dual clutch transmission. Again, as I said earlier, a matter of philosophy, and I mean, it's still good. I mean, if someone would tell you then you are driving an S-tronic now, because we have sometimes also mixed that up sometimes, you could also believe that. So they're just small nuances, again, because both of the technologies are really on that highly evolved level that they're both really working perfectly. Also got this sport view from the virtual cockpit we have here with the S5. So a clear display, but I can also see the speed in the head-up display. That's of course good, because I can keep my vision on the road. Head-up display, as always, only optionally available. There are not the biggest differences between the different riding modes, mostly really about the shifting process that is taking place, because in every driving mode the car is really agile. Look at this, how stable it is. And we've also did with the S5 Coupe a high-speed test on the German Autobahn, and that one was really amazing how stable the car was, even at 200 kilometers or maybe even more. I mean, there are not so many chances to go that fast. Here again, every accelerating out of the corner is just pure fun with the car. With that one here, it's a little bit harder to relax, because you have so much power, and this sound always tells you, go on, go on, go on, go further. And the other one can also be more silent and think about, oh, you know, I just relax and then that's it. Really funny. I also like those contrasting mirror caps, by the way, in silver. Didn't mention that in the exterior one. So this one is really about the superb power. Later on there will also be an RS5 that will even more step up the game, but yeah, that's not really that anyone would need. This one here, the S versions, I've told you that, for example, also with comparison S3, RS3. I'm more a fan of the S versions because they still, as this one here, offer you a good compromise between sportiness and comfort. The RS version are really more suitable for racetrack, and there you already lack some comfort in everyday driving. That's the basic problem. So you can always go with the automatic shifting lever into those S modes. You see, went back 3 gears, and then you can accelerate better again. So you can use the shifting pedals here to shift up or down. And well, when I do some acceleration testing now, it's not really reliable as for the consumption, but the total consumption won't be so much difference for the V6 and the 2-liter petrol engine, because there's still much horsepower involved, and sometimes it's better to have a bigger engine but then driving it slower. And if you're not playing around with that, do those tests here as we're doing at the moment, average consumption could be around 10 liters with both of the petrol engines. Look at here, when I'm just driving 100, how stable the car is. It feels like nothing for the car. So the car is not acting in any way that it would have any effort. So this effortless driving is really one crucial factor for the A5 and especially also for the S5. I had this total colleague, I think even yesterday, driving this car here is like, you know, when you have a knife and you know, have molten butter and you go with a knife through it, and because you have no resistance, neither from the throttle, neither from the steering wheel. Sound insulation is also very great here. The only thing you hear in the S5 is that sound here, and so this is this totally effortless and seamless driving, which is really amazing with this car. Question is then, of course, Coupe and Sportback, do you feel a difference? I have to say, really minor, maybe, really a minor difference you feel. So nothing too huge from the difference. Maybe you feel a little bit that the wheelbase is a little bit longer, but that's again no game changer. And then if you put the big petrol engine against the smaller petrol engine here, sorry, not here, here's the big petrol engine. Is there a huge difference? Well, it's not really that huge because the other one is already that sporty. Come on, one more for you here. Yeah, sound is really the biggest difference here, and of course even a little bit more power. But then again, I think if you want to save some money, you'll also be just fine with a very sporty 2-liter engine. And now to our conclusion, Audi A5 Sportback and S5 Sportback. I hope you enjoyed this trip through the different trim levels. We could see a lot and explain a lot. And I think this one here is overall one of the most desirable cars in the mid-size segment. Because if maybe a estate is, you know, not fancy enough for you, but you still want flexibility, then you got it here with this hatch estate style, and also 5 doors with reasonable space in the rear. A crisp design on the exterior, although my very favorite is still the one from 2007, because that's just an all-time classic design-wise. Interior refinement as great as ever, and we also showed you some different nice seat options. They could work a little bit more on that, for example removing the animal skin on the outside with those Alcantara seats. And of course, when driving this car, already the 2-liter petrol engine had a lot of power. This one here is more if you really say, I want the V6, and no matter what, of course, sound-wise, it did make a great difference. Looking forward to your feedback on that car here, and I've heard maybe it will really come this time, also the Sportback variant, also in the US. So also look out for that. Thank you very much for watching Autogefühl with Thomas. Tune in next time.